iPhone and Android users, we have a free app. Download it today. AndrewHogue.com. This is AndrewHogue.com, still Australia's first and only 24/7 metal radio station. At the Good Things Festival 2023, it's kind of overcast at this point, but this band, what do I say? Let's just welcome him to the airways right now, Mr. Derrick Green from Sepultura. Welcome back to Oz.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Green.
It's fantastic to be here back in Australia.
Yes, and it's
doing what we do best.
It's a whirlwind for you guys because you sort of fly in, play the show, and then you're out the door again. So, I mean...
That's not the fun part.
I know, the fun part's the performance. And it was
Absolutely.
an awesome set today. Well done.
Thank you. I
very,
appreciate
very
that.
Good. And, again...
That was our first festival ever played in Australia.
Wow.
In the history of the band.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that because I remember Big Day Out 96 or 97,
and it was canceled.
And then that got canned because
Yeah.
we know the reasons, and the history moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how did it feel compared to normal festivals? You guys have done hundreds.
It felt great.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know what to expect.
From just a normal, even
Right.
Australian festival vibe? Like a festival's a festival, but did you
I
still
mean,
feel
that and just, you know, a lot of times people don't understand that when you get to a festival, you don't really know, or you're not paying so much attention to like stages and things
Yeah.
like that. But then you get there and then you see the stages, like there's the main stage and there's the other main stage. And there's like, where are we playing? And they're like, there's your tent. And it was like, the tent?
it was a very nice tent.
Well, yeah. So, you know, it's like they hype it up, you know, and I was like, oh no, but the tent is hot.
Like,
you know?
like the
And I was
Griswolds.
like,
Oh, they're $37 for 3 tents. Oh, they're very nice tents. That includes scenery and wildlife fun. But this is the hardest thing with sound in tents and festivals. People always say, oh, it's windy and the sound gets carried across. So how do you find the difference between, I guess, an indoor show at a venue where you've had your sound check and compared to you're on in 40 minutes, you just got to the venue.
Right.
It's just jump on in and go.
You just do it. You just go. And I think with this festival was great is that I didn't know what to expect, and the tent is fantastic.
Why you say tent?
And then when I was like, no, it's a massive tent. That's what I didn't understand.
Oh, so,
You know,
okay. When you thought of a tent, what were you visualizing when you
visualizing like an extremely like dilapidated tent, you know,
30
broken
people
down
under a tarpaulin.
We kept driving and driving. I was like, are we going any further away from the festival? Like with all the people. But then, and also it didn't help that our lighting engineer came into the dressing room and he was like, it's getting really crowded out there. And I was like, and I can't believe him anymore because he's always joking around.
Yeah.
And I was like, shut up, man. Just take it outside. You
So
know,
you
I was
just-
like, yeah, because I was like, it's early, you know, like almost 3.
Yep.
And a lot of times people don't show up to festivals like in Europe until later. But it was a pleasant surprise to see that the tent was packed.
It was awesome.
It was amazing.
And the thing is,
Amazing
too,
time.
when we get these festivals, people do get here early,
Yes.
which is great.
And I understand that, you know, they put a lot of bands in different positions to get people to come earlier,
Yeah.
I think, and stick through the festival.
And what do you think of the festival's diversity? Because
Yeah.
there's just something for everyone. Even if you're not into punk, you're into metal. You're not into metal,
Right.
you're into ska or whatever. I mean, it's such a diverse lineup.
I think that's what makes it so special,
Yep.
you know, and it makes it entertaining and fun to watch different bands that you might necessarily not watch ever. So it's great to be able to see different bands, different artists, be around different people, you know, different tribes, you know, and it's great, you know, that mixture.
At the history of Sepultura, you know, especially European festivals, the band's always been on different lineups, not just sort of the Varken and you know, Dynamo or whatever. There's always been placements on different types of lineups, even more diverse than this. This is kind of within the heavy realm of punk, rock, and metal.
Right.
But in Europe, you know, Grass Pop, all those kind of festivals have so many different eclectic sort of artists and stuff like that. So this is what I noticed, especially when we talked to Andreas recently about the fact that the band doesn't focus on the past, even though some fans like to stay in that era.
Right. It's comfortable. They become very comfortable.
100%.
Right.
Whereas, you know, the band's always creating diversity and playing a lot of the new songs from Quadra has been fantastic. I actually bumped into a listener before in the crowd.
Right.
And he even said, you know, it took me a while to sort of cross over from the old. And he goes, mate, that a means to an end that he heard during my interview I played with Andreas a few weeks ago. he's just like, dude, that song was incredible. I said, mate, you can't always stay with the past because you're missing out on the amazing stuff of the present. And I said to Andreas, I'll say it to you, Sepultura is releasing some of its best music ever in its history.
Thank you.
And those last few records have just been crushing. Quadra's awesome. So I guess the question is, where to from here after the Quadra record as far as direction? Because I know you work on a live record.
Right.
But just musically, the band's always expanding. I know Andreas is incredibly open about where he wants to take his ideas as well as you. So what's the flavor?
I think for us, the focus is definitely on the anniversary coming up, the 40-year anniversary. And that entails a lot. You know, we're going to create a lot of different things surrounding the shows in different parts of the world, especially in Brazil and in Sao Paulo. We plan on doing, a type of museum exhibit, and hopefully have that travel around so people can see a lot of the history that was built up and document it. Like a walk-through museum. I've seen a lot of different musicians do this, like David Bowie, and it was fantastic to see in Sao Paulo. But we want to, really be creative and do that. And I think our focus is primarily on that because it's going to be an intense set list, playing a lot of different songs and being able to rotate those around, having to learn a lot of the old songs again. But at the same time, like you're saying, those new songs are so much fun to play, and that was a conscious decision to play as many as possible in the set list, which helps tremendously. I feel it
Big
adds
time.
So much energy, and I just think that we feel very comfortable doing that, and people can feel that as well. And it's just a really great timing for us in this career of Sepultura. It's like really a high point, especially when talking with Andreas and Paulo about certain things that we have achieved together. And before I talked to them about the past, about what happened and what was it like, and there's so many new things that they've experienced now in the present that have never happened before. So like you're saying, that focus on the present is something that we really try to maintain, because that's something that you can really control what's happening in this moment. And a lot of times, people are absorbed in the past or in the future as well, and so it's really not easy, but to be mindful of, your, what's happening around you now.
Big time.
So I think that's where we really try to keep our head, and also in a very positive level.
Yep, it's an untamed mind runs wild.
Absolutely.
Now, what's wild that you've been in the group for 25 years.
Right.
Like, what?
Exactly. I know.
I mean,
think about this. Before I got in the group, I'd never been to Brazil. I didn't know any Brazilians. I couldn't speak Portuguese. And I went to the library because I had a library card to get a book about Brazil. There was no internet. As far as I didn't have a computer. Not many people did.
Yep.
They were super expensive, and I wasn't really sure what the internet was.
No one did around 95, 97 unless you're a computer geek.
And I was just like, all right, let me get this book on Brazil. And I was like, oh my God, they speak Portuguese there? It's surrounded by countries that speak Spanish. That's fascinating. And it was just very basic, And, but a lot has changed. We were working with analog when we started with the Gents. And Howard Benson.
That's still a crushing album. I mean, the production on that record stands up
Howard
so strong
Benson,
today.
Man. Howard Benson, he was just started working with Pro Tools. He was like, I got this book here. I'm going to open it up, and we're going to check out this Pro Tools here.
You're like, okay.
I was like, all right, Howard, just, let's keep it going.
Well, let's talk about the transition of that coming from that era, because like I said, I'm talking to bands today with a 10-year career, and they feel like they've been slogging it, mid-30s going, oh, I'm old. It's crazy.
I'm old.
And they've got, the ageism is crazy today, and they've got all these home studios, and they've been born into that era. So tell us a bit of just how hard compared to what it is now. Like, it's so easy today, but it also, I think, takes away the, what's the word? The spontaneity of and the pressure. Because artists, in the year of growing up with being signed, the time was limited. Get in there, get your best done. That's why I find when I hear some of those early records, and even as an example, Van Halen stuff, they're not right on time, but there's such an energy because there's an urgency of, we've only got 2 more days to record and our budget's blown.
Right.
Do our best. And I think that's what's lost, because you can spend a month just finding the best plug-in for your kick drum.
Possibly overthink
Big time.
a song.
That's what I'm getting at with this long-winded rant. So, how have you found the difference of the crossover from the recording with an album and a budget and a record label, all that sort of stuff, to we've got a home studio now in certain areas, like you can do all your stuff. Andreas is right into it as well. Do you find that you can get trapped in the over-analyzing because you got all these new tools?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I think for us it's best not to overanalyze, and like I was saying, just be in that moment. And if it feels good, it feels good. If it feels bad, don't.
Then I would delete that.
Yeah, it's just like done. Move on. And it's definitely a big difference. I agree with you. There is that urgency. Like, hey, we got to get this done. And some bands work well under pressure. Some people do really well under that. That clock. Extreme pressure in the clock, ticking. And I think we do really well with that. But there is something to it, like we took our time with creating Machine Messiah, and then Quadra especially. We skipped the entire summer of touring, which we had never done in like almost 20 years. And I think that had a tremendous difference in the creation, but I don't think we overthought it. We just had time to really go and do it, and it just felt good, even though those guys are there like, I'm going to send you this song idea. And I had already been working on lyrics. I'd never done that before, write lyrics before the song was even there.
Yeah.
And so I had all these topics in my room on like a cork board with like Post-its, and I would write down like 9 different topics I wanted to sing about.
Yep.
Then whenever I thought of something, like I would see it every day. I wake up, go to bed, that was the whole idea of having it like kind of on a wall in my room, in my bedroom. And then basically whenever something would come up, either reading, watching a movie, watching a documentary or anything like that, or conversation, and an idea comes up, I'd write that phrase or whatever words I was thinking and put it next to whatever topic that it associated with that, whether it be the topics, for example, were like depression, and really going deep on myself, like, wow, I've had that in my family with my mother. I've had that feeling myself, I'm battling that. So I really want to go deep and write something about depression. I want to write a song about the judicial system and actually how they imprison people with isolation. And so that was a song that I really wanted to write about, and how it's inhumane to keep people isolated like that. So those are like some topics that I was writing about. So if I was watching something that really hit me, or was reading something, or somebody said something, then I would put that Post-it next to that topic. And it worked really well until it was filled, and then boom, like Andreas and the lawyer, like, hey, here's an idea, send it over. And for example, Guardians of Earth on Quadra, I heard it and I was like, man, this was really tribal, really incredible rhythm that's happening in the very beginning of the song that reminds me of indigenous people, and just that harmony they have with the Amazon, and how well they've lived for thousands of years of preserving it. And they were going through this political battles that have been happening where a lot of them are being killed. There are no police there to really be the law and see what's happening with these big companies are doing the murdering. So I wanted to write a song about that, and I was like, this fits perfectly with that idea.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, when you go through that corkboard and you see all the ideas, do you know specifically which song? As soon as you hear the song, if you got the feeling like this kind of, if this has a dark, dense feeling, all right, well, maybe the depression topic might fit with that. So you go with the mood of the song. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the first time doing that, but that took time. You know? But it was like it wasn't rushed, and at the same time, it wasn't just being lazy. It was really just letting it come together naturally.
Okay, and let's talk a completely different topic.
Okay,
you've got a thing happening called Highway to Health.
That's right, Highway to Health. That's when they changed into this voice here, and we're on their next episode of Highway to Health.
Subscribe
and like.
Tell us a bit more about that, because again, we are seeing a lot more people making conscious choices to improve their health, and you got some people that are complete roller coaster of physical health or crumbling. I mean, we're seeing it in people we've grown up listening to in music. I know the touring world is very difficult to maintain to a degree because of travel.
No doubt.
So tell us when that has sort of kicked in for you, the last several years of your own, taking charge of your own personal health, even being, off alcohol as well. And Fill us in. When did that
Okay.
sort of kick in for you to say, you know what, I really got to start to take care of this wonderful vehicle that is our body?
I think it started especially with things like alcohol. Before the whole lockdown, before COVID, it happened a little bit before then. For me, it just got to a turning point where I just really didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't find any positives in drinking. There were none, except for flavor.
Yep.
And everything else was just getting worse as I got older. As far as the feeling afterwards of drinking, feeling depressed, which
Yep.
never happened before. Just my body out of whack. My digestive system completely destroyed. My brain just like aching. Starving for water in the morning over a hangover, and just feeling broken and
Yep.
just getting tired of that. And I was like, why am I doing that to myself? Like really questioning, like it doesn't make sense. And I'm spending money doing it,
Yep.
which didn't make any sense at all. It's just ludicrous. So it was easy for me to stop because I started to feel good immediately.
Yeah.
And those changes are, worth much more than what I was doing to myself. And that clarity really kicked in, and it just, pushed things further to really do more things for myself, treat myself well. I just felt that I'm the only person that's going to be able to do that, and I needed to really do that like in that moment,
Yeah.
So I didn't want to lose the moment like I had many years of just whatever, not being able to remember certain things that happened at night after incredible moments, just losing that, so it felt really good. It was only going uphill once I stopped. It was this really incredible feeling. At the same time, it was the idea that came about to do a show about traveling and talking with people that I've met who are definitely on this path called like a highway to health. And it was really great.
Love the title.
I think it's really, really catchy, and a lot of people can relate to it. And I think we're all on that highway, like trying to find our way to a healthier life. At least a lot of us want to, or at least. And so, but that idea came about. I happened to meet Tanya O'Callaghan, who is a bass player. She's from Ireland. I want to be able to pronounce the name. It will come to me. I want to say it properly. I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
F it up. But Tanya Mullingar.
Yep.
Yes, Mullingar.
Yes.
I sometimes feel my Irish accent there, and I sometimes sound like a leprechaun. It's really bad. Or a Jamaican there. It comes back to a Jamaican sounding accent.
You do that too well, Green.
Or Mary Poppins. But we're not, I'm not going to get into that. But
That's all right.
the idea came about. She had the same idea as well. She met a lot of incredible, positive people doing things in their life to, make things better. And also not only us, but the planet and everything around us. So the idea of the program is we travel, talk to people, talk about health, talk about usually eating vegan food, plant-based food, and showing that whole world how it's really growing and getting bigger, and how there's different people that are really concerned, not only one type of person, like many different types of people. So we try to showcase different artists, chefs, musicians, fighters, whoever, and really try to pull in people who aren't plant-based that have questions about the plant-based world, and kind of squash the stereotypes that exist around it.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot more too, being around, doing radio stuff and talking to artists, and even being out the back in these sort of environments, that there is a less emphasis on the party, so to speak.
Right.
I mean, even the sort of younger bands seem to be, I guess, learning from
True.
the other bands of the past, and as much as they thought, the whole Motley Crue era was amazing, people are just like, what?
That's a very good point. Like, I've noticed a lot of the younger bands aren't as crazy as we were.
Maybe because there's too many rules that they can't break anymore, because back in the time people got away with so much shit. It's funny because I saw a sign on the, I'll bring it up, I took a photo of it and I thought, hang on, we're at a festival, and there was a sign that said, where is it? And I was surprised. Moshing, stage diving, crowd surfing, circle pit, or circle/wall of death, or such like activity are prohibited. And we're at a rock festival. Like, so I think either some of them are
that's
just
a good point.
don't want to break the rules because there's way too many rules and there's way too many strong consequences now, because maybe today to a degree. People just don't tolerate shit. Whereas back in the time, like it's crazy. You think about it. Vince Neil example.
Right.
Drink driving, killed someone, 30 days jail. I got to go on tour. Okay.
Yeah.
The handcuffs come off. But
Right.
today,
Right.
you get away with nothing.
That's
so
true.
I think maybe they just think the consequences are way too high. They don't want to ruin their opportunities of their career. It's a smart move to a degree. But I also think that, there is such a emphasis on control on so many levels. Go
Right.
to a gig, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't walk here. It's like, man, I wonder everyone's just afraid to break and let loose.
It's very true. I mean, after living outside the U.S. for more than 20 years
Yep.
and coming back, there were just so many rules I just never thought about when I was living there. And another thing is that, a lot of the people, like not living in the U.S. for 20 years, also noticing how the health
Yep.
of many people had gotten worse, like really bad. And I was seeing this also in Brazil as a result of different companies coming to Brazil, like fast food places, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Domino's, all that crap, that people are eating is having an effect on other places in the world now. So it's really sad to see. And I think, this program was something that was created to do something positive, to have something positive out there, but in a fun way, in a very cool way. We have a lot of different special guests who are amazing. Kevin Smith, director, comedian.
He's changed, like since he had his heart attack scare, he literally just said, wow, this is serious. I better change it now.
Exactly.
Some people need that scare in order to
Right.
wake up. Some people never get it. So.
Right. And he talks, everything about that, what happened, what went down, and how he became plant-based because of his daughter. And it's a really interesting story. We also interviewed Dee Schneider, I was telling you about, and he's not a vegan, but the fact that we're doing the interview in a vegan place because he loves the taste of it.
Yep.
And also his kids, who I think all four of them are vegan as well. And so that was something very interesting. Is like we didn't, teach them to be that.
They just made it up, or they just went on their own decision, their own choices. Yeah, and as we say, at the end of the day, it is a choice. So
absolutely,
we'll keep us posted on that
for
up
sure.
and coming program.
Yeah, I mean,
Dr.
people
Green.
can check it out. On YouTube, we have our YouTube channel.
Yep.
For now, and it's like pretty much the first season. We're breaking it up into pieces, so you can capture, like so many different episodes there. Highway to Health YouTube channel. Subscribe and like.
Hit the like button
Like
and subscribe.
So, I mean, Tanya and I are super busy, but, she's playing with Bruce Dickinson. She's also playing with Whitesnake. She's a badass. We go to her hometown where she was born and understand, like, how she became a vegan, how she became an activist. And then we go to Cleveland, where I'm from, and it's just polar opposites.
Yeah.
But we completely different places.
How often do you get back to the homeland of the Cleveland Green?
Not enough.
Not enough.
My voice changes when we start talking about Cleveland.
I can hear it.
Can you hear it?
I can certainly hear it. Well, it has been a pleasure, Mr. Green. Always love connecting with you and catching up.
I love it.
We can get you to choose, I reckon we'll go a couple of tracks from your time with Sepultura currently. You can go with something off Quadra and something from any other records that you've been a part of.
All right, that sounds good.
Green.
Let's see what we're going to pick here from Quadra. Oh, my God.
I'm going
Andreas chose a means to an end, so we could go with something else.
Okay. I'm going to pick Agony of Defeat.
Actually, no, he chose that.
I knew he did it.
He chose
That's
that one.
right. You tricked me.
Yeah.
I hate that song. No, we're going to do something else. Guardians of Earth.
Yeah, we could do
Yes.
that one. All right. And another one, something off Against, maybe?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Common Bonds.
Awesome track.
Yeah.
That was one of the songs that inspired me to start learning taiko drums.
Nice.
I got about 4 drums in my house. I bought one when I was in Japan. I actually went to Sato Island where you guys
Awesome,
recorded.
really? That's
and
incredible.
The instructions they sent me to get there, I've never received the most meticulous. It was literally at 3:02, you catch bus next to tree. 3:02, bus turns up. I'm standing next to the tree. And, and like all the way to get to where I had to get to the compound.
Right.
And it was weird. When I was there, I was just like, just channeling the, just because you guys were there.
Yeah,
I was
man.
like, man, and then just seeing all those drums, it was just wild. So that was like a Graceland for me to tick
It's
off
like
the list.
inspirational, those guys. I mean, it was so
Big time.
inspirational with that song that Mike Patton ended up wanting to sing on it.
Yep.
Because it was just so powerful, man.
You know what? We'll play that as well.
Yes.
Was it
Do it.
Kamatachi?
Kamatachi.
Yeah, that's
Hey.
right. We can do that, Mr. Green.
Hey.
All right. All the best. Travel safe. Have a good Christmas.
Thank you very much for having me.
And,
it's great to be here.
Till next time, Mr. Green.
Till next time.
Don't you go changing.